till the lights go down, 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 till the lights go down, down, down. I've been feeling alright, I've been taking.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Crypto Vibes here, also known as Crypto. Bringing you guys another video, and today, guys, we have our draft analysis going up for the EBT. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say. And yeah, basically Remnants finished up. We ended up losing the finals if we didn't see that, and EBT is taking back over for Remnants. Basically, Remnants was a one-season thing that filled in for EBT while it was basically on break. But now we have Frall as commissioner, deciding to come back, and for season 7, we will be playing in the EBT Premier Division, which is actually the top division. We got promoted to it, which was pretty cool because our Remnants run helped us out a little bit. So whereas Remnants wasn't as big of a deal to a lot of players, we still were able to do pretty solid and then you know, move up to the top division, which is really cool. And I know there's a lot of good players up here, so we'll try not to get relegated. that's the game plan, I guess. But yeah, as you can see, there's actually 14 coaches up in the Premier Division. I think 12 in the other two divisions. There's a Sun and a Moon. Yeah, and then Premier, Moon, then Sun. It goes that way. And then yeah, pretty solid overall. I can go ahead and talk about all 14 coaches. I actually have them pretty much in the draft order way. So like, first pick was Google, Lollywop, and second pick was Dave and his Chicago Conkelty, I believe. Third was I and his Connecticut Cabalions. Fourth was Bill and his Dallas Tramples. Fifth was Blitz and his Toronto Tyrannotars. Sixth was A12 and his Arkham City Delibirds. Seventh was Philadelphia Ace and his Philadelphia Bronzon. He was the guy who played in the finals in the Remnants, so he promoted too. Then we have the Valley and his Seattle Primarinas, Money and his Washington Wishcash, and then me, Amityville Ampharos. We have Lomane, who also promoted the Sacramento Hoopas, and then we have Omega, who also promoted the Chicago Caracosas. And then two coaches. Here we have the Los Angeles. Yeah, it was Los Angeles Rose Raiders, I believe, or Oakland Rose Raiders, whichever one he's going with now, because, you know, the Raiders changed their thing, so it's one of the two. And then we have the Gotham City Gold, our team coach was Rob. Coach L5 if I didn't say that already. But yeah, basically that's the draft order. We ended up getting the 10th spot in the draft in total, and I was okay with that. I really didn't have a strong plan coming into this. I kind of wanted a couple of different megas. I ended up getting a mega first round, so yeah, if that gives it away to anybody, then sorry. But there's a couple of good megas you can take with the first round, especially considering there's things like Mega Latios are allowed this time, and Mega Mawile is allowed. I think it was allowed in Remnants anyways. And then there's also things like Lander's Eye, which is allowed, which is Sheer Force, which is pretty scary. I didn't think that would make it to me, so I didn't really make a plan around it. And then I believe there was there one other thing, I think? There might have been one other thing that was allowed, but things like Celestial, Tapu Koko and stuff, you know, the general stuff. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and hop into my first pick. This is a mon I've used maybe once before, just for like a couple weeks in a league, but that league ended up dying out. So I really enjoy this mon. I think it's really cool. I think it's really like diverse when stuff it can do whenever it has a really strong set. And I'll just go ahead and get into it. It's Mega Charizard X. I was gonna say it has a really strong set, being the Dragon Dance setup set and just destroy. But like, I think this thing has a total like entourage of things it can do, which is pretty cool. And yeah, as you can see, I just listed a couple things about it, like strengths and weaknesses. It might not be the most accurate things, but I just did a couple of things to list there, and I'm just going to talk about the mon in general. Anyways, some of the strength I wrote down for Charizard X is the fact that it's a great wall breaker. So basically, even without setup, this thing has 130 base attack with Tough Claws. So yeah, with Tough Claws boosted like Dragon Claws and Thunder Punches and whatnot to break through certain waters. This thing doesn't really necessarily need setup if it's supported with like the Hazard Stack and whatnot, but it also does have the setup capabilities to make it a solid win con, which is my next strength I wrote down for it. So most matchups it will be a pretty solid win con, whether it's Dragon Dance, SD in certain matchups. Could even run Belly Drum. No, I'm just kidding. I'm probably not going to run Belly Drum this season. I considered running Belly Drum regular Charizard last season with like the Salac Berry, but Mega Charizard X would be a little bit harder to pull off, unless you have like Tailwind support out or something, or Path to Rock Fall into it. And then the strength. Or another strength was the reliable recovery on a balanced Pokemon. Like balanced Pokemon, you know, like I just mean like I feel like I can do a lot with it. Like I don't feel like it's just going to be a wall breaker destroying everything every week. I feel like I can use it defensively because its typing's so good. Dragon especially, and then Fire's pretty cool. It is a little unfortunate that my Fire type is weak to Fairy, or it's neutral to Fairy now since it's part Dragon. But at the same time, my Fire type's not weak to Water anymore. It's like neutral. has a lot of resistance, electric, grass, and whatnot. I can keep going on, but yeah. And then a couple of weaknesses I wrote down was before Mega. I should have wrote before Mega Evolving, this Pokemon has a 4 times weakness to Stealth Rocks, which you know, is a problem, so I do need to support that a lot. And then the next weakness I wrote down was requires a ton of support. And I don't just mean keeping hazards off the field, I mean as far as setting up and trying to win late game with this mon, as far as just putting this mon in a good position to start breaking holes for teams. Kind of just requires a good amount of support, so that's kind of what I had in mind whenever writing down some of these notes. But overall, I think Zardex is a really cool Mega. I enjoy it. I think its typing is really cool. I usually don't draft fire types in drafts unless it's like this, Infernape, some other fire types I can't think about. Salaz would be a pretty cool one, I guess. There's some other fire types I can't really think about off the top of my head right now, but there's some other ones. Darmanitan, I guess, sometimes. But yeah, Mega Charizard X, pretty solid mon. I am happy to use it, and right away I wanted to go ahead and actually get a Rapid Spinner because I usually go through giraffes and I have like pretty bad removal, and defoggers are really solid and there's a ton of them, but there's like, I feel like there's not that many great Rapid Spinners, because once you get past the first couple, I feel like you start getting into a couple of the weaker ones, like, well, they're not weak, but they're like average, like some of the grass types like Delmise and Serena. They're like okay spinners, but I want to get one of those top tier spinners, like something like an Excadrill or a Starmie. So that's actually what we went with our next pick. We ended up getting Starmie, and I really do like this core of Starmie Zardex. Might be a little outdated in some people's opinion, meaning it was like better in 6th gen and whatnot, but I think it's still pretty good. Starmie does get pressured a lot on the like it's not nearly as good defensively anymore because it gets pressured a lot by Z-moves potentially, so it can't really switch into things as well. It's like a decent pivot, but like it's not really like you can't use it defensively the best anymore, I should say. Not saying you can't, but you definitely can, but it's a lot harder to. You can see the stats down there. As, yeah, some of the strengths I wrote down for Starmie was a great Rapid Spinner, and a great support Pokemon. I guess great support mainly I meant like a Rapid Spin in general, but also this mon just has the ability to fill a good amount of roles for your team. It's pretty solid in that category. It has a great speed tier, which I wanted to go ahead and talk about. 115 coming up as Zardex's 100 is very nice because that gives me like it means like 110. There's a good amount of 110 Pokemon that can deal with Zard if it's not set up already. So maybe Starmie can come in and revenge if like Zard ends up getting picked off. Starmie's great with a light. Starmie Analytic Life Orb set's really good. Paired with its amazing coverage, as you can see, this next strength we have. Thing gets like Hydro Pump for like really strong water stab, Scald, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, Dazzling Gleam, Grass Knots. Get some other ones, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't get fire coverage. I mean, you can run Hidden Power Fire for like Ferrothorns and Scizors and stuff, I guess, but yeah. And then some of the weaknesses I wrote down for Starmie was easily Pursuit Trapped. Yeah, this mon's pretty easily Pursuit Trapped because anytime I guess like a bulky dark or just like a pretty good dark type in general comes in against this, you might, and if you're really expecting Pursuit, like in a little muck, for example, like an AV a little muck, yeah, you pretty much lose this mon if it gets hit on you, so that's definitely really scary. Another Pursuit Trappers like Tyranitar are scary, so you might want to have some kind of attack ready to hit that thing if it comes in and tries to trap you, so yeah. And then another weakness was I just put low HP stat. That's kind of like a lame weakness to put down, but I really couldn't figure out any more weaknesses for this thing off the top of my head. Its low HP stat kind of just makes it not as great as a defensive Pokemon with Z moves around like I was talking about. It does have decent defenses in 85, both sides, so that's pretty solid. But yeah, like overall, pretty cool mon. I do got to keep in mind that it can get Pursuit Truck pretty easily, so trying to fill out that gap later on would be nice to do. But yeah, I do like Starmie a lot, and provides pretty good support for Charizard. And yeah, so far we do have our Fire Water core, and I actually do want to fill that out immediately, and I'm going to go ahead and fill the grass spot up with Serperior, another mon I really love using. I use it a lot, and like I just use it a lot over time, not really draft league that much. I guess there's ladder, there's like other stuff. I've used Serperior a good amount, so I'm definitely excited to pick this thing up. As the only, you're going to see weakness right there. I just put overpriced. Like that doesn't have anything to do with the Pokemon in general. It's just for the giraffe. Like I really couldn't figure out what else to put there for weaknesses, so I put overpriced just because I figured this mon might be able to drop down. It was tier 1B, which is like pretty expensive in my opinion, but I really just wanted this mon in general, so I decided to pick it up. But that's really the only reason. I thought it could be tier 2, maybe tier 2A, but it's fine because I picked it up there and it was my choice. But anyways, I'm just excited to use it. And then I'll talk about the strengths, and I'll talk about that last weakness here in a second. The strength, I just put Contrary because this thing's just really good at just spamming Leaf Storm. If you weaken teams down specifically for this thing, just spamming Leaf Storm at the end of games can be super solid. Choice Scarf sets are ridiculously good. Choice Scarf Leaf Storm, because not every time a team is going to bring, like, let's say they only have one grass resist on their team, you could just bring Scarf Serperior and just start going ham on the team after that one grass resist gets weakened. This Pokemon's also a very fast sub-seed user, which means obviously the sub-seed set's really good with a really high speed, so if you have to sub up, you could just lead seed, continue sub with leftovers, whatnot, annoying things down, weakening them down, pretty huge. And then as another strength, I've added Defog because this mon actually is like, it always ran like 3 moves, right, until it got Defog. 2 or 3 moves is all it really needed before, and now I have Defog, which is actually really solid on it, because I do have a Zardex, and I figured if I don't want to run Starmie Rapid Spin every time, Starmie could have good offensive matchups in some games, I would be pretty okay with running Defog Serp in a lot of scenarios, so I really do enjoy that. I got Defog, and that was another reason I wanted to pick it up to help support my Zard. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And then the other weakness I was going to talk about is Lax Coverage, which isn't really a big problem because like all it needs to do is spam Leaf Storm, and like I said, it has Defog now. Hidden powers are pretty nice for it. It gets Glare. Dragon Pulse, I guess, is okay. The sub-seed set's pretty good. So I mean, it has other sets, so I don't really think like the Lax Coverage thing is like, it doesn't have that much like coverage like I'm just talking about in general, but it does have good moves around it. So and that can just, you know, it doesn't need that many moves, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's Serperior. It also gives me a base 113 speed mon, so it's 1 or 2 points under Starmie, which I guess is pretty cool because I have something in between Zardex and Starmie now. But yeah. Anyways, get into the 4th round. I really didn't have a specific reason to pick this mon, but I figured I didn't want to let it go down anymore, and I thought I like this mon a lot because it's in between my Serperior and Zardex's speed tier, and I kind of just want to put them on in between there, and then start filling out some of my defense, which this is another offensive mon. I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. We picked up Thundurus-T now. Coming around round 4, Thundurus-T and Thundurus Incarnate were both there, and I did consider picking up Thundurus Incarnate, but I actually like the idea with Thundurus-T better on my team. Just because I like that 101 speed tier a little bit better than 111 with what I had, and I liked Volt Absorb a lot on this team. It helps support Starmie. It doesn't automatically make it have to lose to electric types and whatnot. Volt Switch. I didn't really have. Alright, here's what the idea was. I didn't really have a good ground type in mind, so I wanted to get another immunity to electric before I picked up my ground type. So yeah, I have two basically in this draft. I'll go ahead and say, and this is one of them, which is pretty nice. Some of the strengths I wrote down for this thing's awesome. First off, it's an amazing Z user. Probably it's top 5, especially this form is top 5 in Z, using Z moves in my opinion. I just think this thing's really good at doing so. Another strength I would say is it's got a great speed tier for my team specifically. 101's really solid, outspeeds all those baseball hundreds. A lot of times I'll have to run max speed on it just for that reason, so that's a little unfortunate, but like at the same time, there's really no reason to run too much bulk on this thing. Because it's usually going to come in as a late game sweeper or like a choice scarf user, and won't have to take too many hits besides like hazards. So yeah. And then I put down solid ability because basically with the team I'm building around, I wanted that extra electric immunity so teams can't just Volt Switch and just spam electric moves against me. So I really did like that I had the Volt Absorb. And then some of the weaknesses I wrote down was doesn't appreciate priority, so like Ice Shard. I mean, Ice Shard's really the only one it's weak to besides Ice Shard in the Zoroark. Then like Water Shark and all that stuff can pick it off really, because say you want to use Thundurus as like a win con some game, and it has to come out like 1 or 2 rounds of rocks, and then it's down to 50%. It's then pretty much in range of that Ice Shard, that Zoroark range, and then like it doesn't appreciate that. So I guess what I'm saying is like. And another weakness I wrote down was Stealth Rocks, because like just injury hazards and just priority in general kind of weaken this mon, because other than that it's really just good at setting up and winning, and then just it's really solid as a choice scarf or 2. So yeah, any of that stuff that can, you know, get initial damage off on this thing before it's able to attack is pretty solid against it. So that'd be the one thing I'd write down for its weakness. So yeah, and I also did like this mon because Zardex gave me a amazing physical breaker, whereas this mon gives me an amazing special breaker. Whereas like Starmie and Serperior are good special breakers too, but I'm not always going to use them that way. And Thundurus I can use as a breaker most times. So yeah, getting into my next pick anyways. I said I wanted to start building on my defense. This isn't really exactly the best like defensive mon, but it is, in my opinion, like a real, well, I can't really say that. It's a really good support mon in general, and I just wanted to try this mon out. I think it's really cool what it can do. A lot of people find it way too passive. I agree and disagree to an extent, but I'm just going to go ahead and hop into it. And that Pokemon is Klefki. Now, Klefki is a really good support mon overall. It gives you an addition. It gives you a really nice addition to the team, adding spikes. It gives you prankster spikes, I should say. It gives you prankster dual screens, which I have written down for both two of the strengths right there. I have that written down. I really appreciate screens on this team for some of my setup spam. Whether it's Serperior just spamming Leaf Storm, whether it's Thundurus trying to set up, or it's Zard trying to set up, dual screens will really help those mons out. Great defensive typing. I've written down Steel plus Fairy is really solid defensively. It gives me a nice Fairy resist, obviously. It gives me a Dragon immunity, and it gives me I was going to say Steel resist, but I'm neutral Steel, which isn't a big deal because I already have 3 mons that resist Steel. So that's really solid. And yeah, this mon has a decent speed tier. Like, the speed tier is not going to come in too much because most times on this mon you'll have only like 1 attacking move, if that. You might have 0, so speed tier won't come in too much to play because most of the time you'll be picking Prankster. Prankster obviously did get nerfed in Gen 7 with the not being able to hit Dark types, so I got to keep that in mind whenever I'm facing a Dark type. Although that's not really too big of a problem in most scenarios because I do have Fairy spam on this thing with Dazzling and Play Rough and whatnot. So also, if I'm really scared about a Dark type just switching on this all the time, I can run Magician. I won't be doing that probably, but that's something I could do. But yeah, this mon is just a really cool support mon, and I liked it a lot for my team. The dual screens was the main thing, and then spikes was really cool too. So I want to pick up a few mons at the end of my draft that can really appreciate spikes. So yeah, I did like that a lot in this. So yeah, no Stealth Rockers yet. We picked up a spikes user though, but we are looking to grab our first Stealth Rocker on this next pick actually. So getting into it, we're going to go ahead and pick up Piloswine. So Piloswine round 6, which may have been a little early, but it turns out I ended up sniping like 3 people on this pick. Whether it was with, I think they were going to pick it up next round or something, but yeah, I just really want to pick up Piloswine while I was still there. A lot of the good ground types were gone, like Mamoswine, Crocodile, the Nidos, you know, your tier 1 ground types like Lando, Gliscor, or not Gliscor, but Lando and Garchomp, and then Gliscor was still there, I think, but I didn't want to put tier 2 price on it. Piloswine was actually tier 4, so I was definitely down to get that. So Piloswine, basically it's a better Mamoswine. No, I'm just kidding. It's a little bit worse Mamoswine. It's an Violet user, so that's not bad, but it's not like great either. But yeah, anyways, some of the strength I wrote down about this mon is it's a Stealth Rock user, which obviously I put down there because it is my first Stealth Rock user. This mon has great priority, and by that I just mean Ice Shard, because Ice Shard is just so good against some of those setup mons, like I was talking about with Thundurus and whatnot, Dragon setup mons. It's good to just pick things off in general. Yeah, it's really good. Another strength I wrote down was hard to switch into, like Mamoswine. If you ever hear about people having to prefer Mamoswine, then a lot of people are like, I don't have a switch into that mon, and for the most part that's true. Because Mamoswine, you'll want to find your like Pokemon like your Celesteela or your Starmie or your Bulky Water. If you don't have one of those, then you know you're going to be having a hard time switching into Mamoswine. And Piloswine's similar, very similar to that, but it does not get knockoff. So that's going to be something I keep in mind here in a second. We'll go ahead and hop into the weaknesses. I wrote down knockoff, and that means 2 different things. It's weak to knockoff in general because you knock off with Violet. It's a lot less fat. And it can just be taken out a lot easier. And then opposite, it does not get knockoff. So this mon's pretty much walled by things like Bronzong, Starmie, Celesteela, Bulky Waters in general. You can toxic those, I guess. But knockoff in general is just not a move that this mon appreciates, whether it's the fact it doesn't have it or it doesn't like taking them. So yeah. And then another weakness was I just put struggles to take on Bulky Waters and Steel Flying users, like I was just talking about for the reason I just said. It just really can't weaken them down with anything, so that'd be like the biggest thing I can put on this mon, because it's really not that bad overall. I think it's a really good tier 4 mon for sure. Yeah. Speaking of Stealth Rocks, I went ahead and picked up another Stealth Rock user right after this, and yeah, I picked up Uxie. It gives me a dual Psychic type now, which I was okay with because Uxie is way more of a bulky Psychic type than Starmie is, and this also allows me to run offensive Starmie in a lot more matchups now, so that's really solid. Picking up a second Stealth Rocker too, which I figured was really nice. Because last season, Remnants, I did have 2 Stealth Rockers, but one of those Stealth Rockers were Mew, the other one was Steely. So I had a mon that I really didn't want to run Stealth Rocks on a lot because it had so much other variety, and then I had another mon that was just like not always great in a lot of matchups, but I had to bring it just because I wanted Stealth Rocks. So this time I figured I have 2 good Stealth Rockers, being Piloswine and Uxie. And I can pretty much bring one or the other 2 every single game, and most of the time they should be able to carry rocks in one of the slots, which is really nice. So yeah, in this mon I wrote down Stealth Rocks plus Utility is really strong at, because Utility just has a lot of different things you can do for your team. It's that one mon on your team that can afford to run Toxic. It's that one mon on your team that can afford to run a Hidden Power to hit something. It's a mon that can run Knockoff to get rid of something's item that's annoying, like Leftovers or something. Has U-Turn for momentum, which is really solid because it pairs nicely with my Thundurus now, so I have a Volturn for it. Not exactly the best with Thundurus is amazing at it, but Uxie, you know, can give me slow or fast U-turns because it has a base 95 speed depending on how much I invest. So that's pretty cool. I put great natural defenses because really this is my first mon with great natural defenses outside of maybe Zardex, and then Piloswine has decent ones. So, but this mon doesn't have any recovery, which is a little annoying, I guess. But it has the great natural defenses, which is really good overall. It can allow me to take hits from certain mons. If I'm ever facing like something like a Mega Lopunny, I can run certain rest. I can run like a Rest Talk variant if I really wanted to. I could run Rocky Helmets. I could. If I'm ever facing something like a Mega Gallade, I can run Cobra Berry and then try to run some kind of Toxic Set, or it doesn't get Will-O-Wisp, unfortunately. But just different moves. It gets Dazzling Gleam for certain dark types, which can be nice. That's really cool overall, so that's what I'm kind of going into with the last strength I put down for it with a wide move pool. It has a really wide move pool, and I think this mon's the opposite of struggling from the from 4 move slot syndrome. I think this mon really is like, it can just run really unorthodox moves. Like some of the sets it can run just sometimes it don't make sense because like you can just run 4 random moves on it just to make it pretty solid, which if that makes any sense. Has just a lot of good moves, so you can just basically throw whatever you want on it. And then yeah, some of the weakness I wrote down was lacks power. Not exactly the biggest thing on this mon because it's going to be sit there, like I said, knock off Pokemon, throw off like 4 times super effective moves with like a Hidden Power, Dazzling Gleam or something. And then why did I? Oh yeah, weakness I wrote down 4 move slot syndrome. I meant to put like it doesn't struggle from it, so I don't know why I put that down on weaknesses, but it doesn't struggle from 4 move slot syndrome is what I meant to say because it just has an entourage of things it can do. And most of the time you can just throw 4 random moves into Uxie, which makes it pretty solid. Yeah, that was actually that actually ended up being my last Stealth Rocker. I did say I wanted to pick up at least 3 Stealth Rockers in this draft, but I ended up going with 2. Just because I felt like these 2 Stealth Rockers were really solid, and I was going to be able to bring rocks on one of them either game, and wasn't really going to be like, oh man, I needed that move slot for a different move. I felt like I was always going to be able to carry rocks on one of those mons no matter what, which was pretty solid. And if I didn't really need rocks to match up, then, you know, I might not run rocks, so, yeah. Anyways, getting into my next mon, I still did not have a dark type on this team. I was pretty much wanting one at this point. I didn't want to end up picking up like a tier 5 dark. I mean, there was a couple options. Not that I can remember them at the moment, but yeah. Anyways, hop in the next one. We ended up picking up Zoroark with our next pick. Pretty cool mon. I've used this mon once before. Same thing like Zard. I've used it once before in a couple games, and I actually really like this mon. Sometimes I forget how to use it, so I kind of practice with it a little bit, just because I don't like to, you know, I don't want to disguise it as a bad, or as I don't want to disguise it as something that wouldn't make sense in the matchup, or something like really weird. I want to like disguise it as something that makes it like, you know, a good bring or something like that. But yeah. Zoroark's really cool. Some of the strengths I wrote down for it is plays mind games. Overall, your opponent really just needs to watch out for this thing. If you decide to lead with it turn 1 and just try to like catch something off guard with a 4-time super effective move, bop that. Or if you just want to use it late game as like a potential sweeper, as your opponent thinks you're going to like heal up with something, you could actually just go on the offensive right there. So it really just really can just change the momentum in the game. Whether it's if your opponent has some of the defensive momentum and you want to change that to your side. That didn't really make any sense. Actually, no. If your opponent has some of the offensive momentum, and you want to kind of swing it on your side, you can kind of try to catch him off guard with a Zoroark set. So that's really cool. Another strength I wrote down was a mixed attacker. Basically, looking through my team, I had things like Uxie, which is a good mixed attacker, but it's like I said, it's pretty weak. I have things like Megazord X, which can be a mixed attacker, and then Thundee, which can be a mixed attacker. But I really wanted another one, so Zoroark was pretty solid here. It gets things on the physical side, like it can be a Pursuit Trapper, definitely an underrated set. It does get low kick, which is pretty cool. Things like Snorlax, I guess, and just bad normal types. Overall, as well as like steel types, I guess, because this one doesn't hit steals the best on the special side, unless, you know, they just have really special defense. And then this one I just put Phil's mini rolls, because like I said, it can be really crucial to your team, whether you need it as a Choice Scarf set to sweep at the end, whether you want it to disguise something to potentially get you a kill in that game that you can't really get without it. And then this one can actually set up as well. It has really solid setup with Nasty Plot and Swords Dance to get Sucker Punch. I don't believe it has any priority on the special side. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I'm not sure on that. But it also does give really decent coverage on the special side with the Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, maybe it gets Dazzling Gleam. I think it gets Grass Knot. Might get something like that. But anyways, I forgot to mention this actually. Starting with my Thundurus. My Thundurus was my first user I actually chose to go with in this draft, and then Zoroark ended up being my second, and I actually do have one more after this to round out my drafts because you get 3. But Zoroark being a second Z user I felt was really cool because if you're still disguised and you throw off a Z move, that's really going to throw your opponent off. Like, you can do so many things with Z Zoroark in my opinion if it's still disguised. Even if it's not disguised, it's really solid. And this one's got a pretty nice speed tier at 105. I didn't really need this speed tier, but I like the dark type. I like this as a dark type for my team, and I felt like it was pretty solid overall. So that's what I went with. Zoroark, pretty good mon, for sure. And then one other weakness I didn't really talk about was this one's kind of hard to set up with because, especially if you're disguised, I mean, I guess if you're disguised, you could set up with it. That'd be like the best way you could do it because otherwise this thing's just super frail and really bad to priority. Same thing with Thundurus. It's not really as weak to priority outside like Vacuum Wave Mach Punch, but it's just super frail, so it does not appreciate it at all. And like it's weak to all the hazards, being Stealth Rock, Toxic Spikes, Sticky Web, Spikes and whatnot. So definitely struggles to set up if it's not supported right. But anyways, hop into my next mod. My team's reliable recovery right now is not really the greatest. I do have Zardex with Roost, I have Starmie with Recover, and I have Serperior with Synthesis. And then, yeah, that's basically it outside of like Rest and stuff. So I wanted something that could actually just pass wishes around because my team isn't really going to want to run reliable recovery every single week, considering most of those mods I just mentioned are offensive anyways. And if they want to run like setup variants and whatnot, then I would want to be able to support those mods with a Wish Passer. So I decided to pick up Audino in Tier 5. This was my Tier 5 mod I actually ended up picking. So really cool mod in my opinion. I actually ended up getting sniped on Licky Licky. He picked, I think it was Bill, he picked Licky Licky super early. I wasn't going to take Licky Licky that early, but I guess it was considered a snipe still. But I ended up going Audino, which is not as good in my opinion, but it's still really good for the fact that it has some good strength I'll just talk about. First off, it's a good Wish Passer. I forgot to mention it's a good Cleric too, so it gets Heal Bell on top of that. So that's pretty solid. It can be a good Wish Passer from Cleric to team. Very good support mod in general. Very usable ability, or very useful ability, I'm sorry, with Regenerator. So basically, if you want to pass up a Wish, you don't necessarily have to just stay in and protect. You can just switch out with Regenerator, and you don't gain all that you would back from a Wish, but you gain a ton back from Regenerator. I believe it's 1/3 of your health. So that's pretty solid. And consider this mod has a 103 HP stat. That's really good for you or for your team. And it'll pass pretty fat wishes. And with decent defenses at 86, so that's not bad at all. Then I also wrote down it is a Ghost immunity because Ghost Spam is pretty good. I mean, I do have a Zoroark which can handle him offensively, and now I have this thing which is nice. And I guess does Fairy resist Ghost? No, I don't think Klefki resist it. I'm messing up with my type chart. But yeah, Audino's really cool. Pretty slow, and that's mainly it. And then weaknesses wise, I put passive. This one does get things like Encore and like other status moves, which makes it pretty good. But it is passive in a sense where it has pretty just weak offenses. So it can let things set up if you don't have the right prep set for it. So that's kind of a problem, but hopefully I can use it good enough this season where I won't have to worry about that too much. And then another weakness I was just lose offensive momentum. I mean, with any Wish Passer, you're really going to lose some offensive momentum, so that's really the only other weakness I could figure out for this thing at the time. Obviously it does have more, but I just kind of put this down sporadically. So yeah, pretty cool mod. Excited to use it. Don't know how many games will come to this season, but hopefully it can come to a couple so I can show it off, see what I can do with it. But anyways, I just said a couple minutes ago that I needed a third Z user, so get into my last Z user. We actually decided to pick up Toxicroak now. I'm super excited to use this mod. I don't have a fighting type on my team at the moment. I didn't have a grounded poison either, so I figured, Toxicroak can fill that role really nicely. Toxicroak's really underrated in my opinion. I know Gregular picked it up for the NPL, and he's using it, or he used it really solid in one of the previous games. He got like six kills and brought back a game for him, so that was pretty insane. And yeah, this one just has a lot of viability with it. Supported by like Klefki screens, this could be really good. Supported with Klefki spikes, this thing could be really good. It gives me a really good priority user. I do have Zoroark and Piloswine with priority, but this one gives me really good priority with, I believe it gets Fake Out, it gets Vacuum Wave, Sucker Punch, Bullet Punch, I think. Does it get Bullet Punch? I think it's another move, I can't remember. I know it gets Fake Out, Sucker Punch, and Vacuum Wave. I don't know if it gets another one or not, but This one is amazing offensively. Strength, very strong move pool, meaning like special, like that kind of talking about my next slide, mixed attacker, so it's like really strong specially and physically. 106 attack stat and an 86 special attack, which is pretty good with boosted. You know, if it's boosted up, it's really strong. And then 86 boosted up is really strong as well. So this thing has access to Swords Dance and Nasty Plot as well, with priority on both sides, which make it really nice. And I guess this model really would appreciate Sticky Webs or something, but I don't have that on my team. I'll go ahead and just say that. Wait, my last mod doesn't get Sticky Webs, I'm pretty sure. Okay, yeah, it doesn't. But yeah, this mod's really cool. I like it a lot overall. I think it'd be good win cons in certain games. Poison plus fighting coverage is actually super good too, because certain fairies, you know, can't just switch into their fighting stab just because they're poison. So this makes this thing really good. And it's a great win con in a lot of games because, like I said, that dual priority on each side is really solid for it. Setup ability on both sides really good for it. And it's got a decent speed tier. So the weakness I wrote down for this thing is a bad defensive typing. So like basically this thing gets destroyed by psychic types, it gets destroyed by ground types, and gets destroyed by what other typings does it get destroyed by? It gets destroyed because its defenses are just so bad. You can see 83 HP, which is defense is 65 and special defense is 65, so it's not as bad as Zoroark is defensively, but it's pretty frail, so it can definitely appreciates some screens if they are up. And then another thing I wrote down was a mediocre speed tier, which may seem a little weird because, you know, in certain matchups it may be good to outspeed certain walls and just break through them, but in certain matchups 86 base speed, or 85 base speed, I'm sorry, isn't going to get the job done exactly, and this one does not get access to set up like agility or rock baller, so I guess it could run, I guess I have it as a Z user, so I could run like Z. If it gets any weather things, I can run like Z weather or something, but that might be down the road, who knows. But another thing I didn't really write down on this mon is it has a very nice ability in dry skin, so fat waters, certain fat waters I might be able to set up on because of my dry skin, so that's really nice to keep in mind too. Okay, that's Toxicroak, 10th mon on the team. We have one more mon to talk about, and this mon may be considered somewhat of a meme, but at the same time I kind of liked it on my team, and I know it doesn't get sticky webs now, but anyways, this mon is Volbeat. Volbeat has been used in some leagues. I've seen it used by Carney Hobo and the NPL Miners. He's used it pretty well, I think, so I hope I can follow his footsteps and see how this thing does this season. Don't know how many games this thing will come to, but some of the strengths I wrote down for this thing, a couple strengths I wrote down was great utility and, you know, helps support team. That's like two of the same things really, but great utility meaning it gets things like Tailwind, which is really nice. It gets Tail Glow, two very solid things. You can pass Tail Glows in this league because it gets Tail Glow Baton Pass, which is really solid. It gets Roost, and this thing actually has decent defenses. HP stat's not very good, but has decent defenses, I guess. It's a ground resist, so I have two mons that resist ground now, this and Serperior, which is nice. So that's pretty solid. It gets access to Roost, like I already said, so it can potentially be a chuck to certain mons. It gets access to On-4, so it's not setup fodder. And it gets other status moves, which I'm not going to really list all of them obviously off the top of my head, but it's pretty solid. 85 base speed is also pretty good too. It's not really like a slow mon if you want it to be defensive. And it also gets access to Lunge, which is really cool because Lunge is a base 80 power move, I believe, that always lowers attack if you use it. So pretty good against dark types and whatnot, psychic types, you can just spam it. So that's cool. I like this mon. And some of the weakness I wrote down for it is Stealth Rocks, obviously, because it's just another mon on my team weak to Stealth Rocks. I believe it's my third, which isn't bad, but it's not great. And then weakness is Offensive Presence. Like, I don't really know what it's going to be doing too much offensively, but who knows? Maybe I have something up my sleeve. But yeah, that's basically the whole team, guys. I have the whole roster here. I don't know why the Starmie is the only sprite that's able to move. I tried to find a moving sprites for all of them, but that's it for the team. I enjoy this team a lot. It's definitely got some flaws in it. It's more of a fun team. I'm definitely more excited about this team than I was with my Remnants team. That team got so dull after a while. Hopefully this team doesn't, because I already see a lot of different things I can do with this team. Even if I have like add drops and things. But I like the team at the moment. And yeah, that's basically my draft analysis, draft recap, whatever you want to call it. And my week 1 matchup will go up. When is that going to go up? Well, this is going up today on Wednesday. That can go up probably Thursday. It might be up Thursday because I've already played the match spoilers, but it can go up Thursday or Friday, I believe. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if new. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and peace.